at 6:30 p.m. on February 25th, 2026. And this is a work session meeting for the Centennial School District Board of Directors. So we are ready to begin. Can I have somebody give a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented?
I make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Rose seconds. Melissa. Director Stanley and Director Slowski moved and seconded the agenda as presented. All those in favor, because we're online as well, we've gotten used to doing this, say aye, and then also raise your hand. That way we can get both a visual and the verbal.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Perfect.
Aye.
There's no introduction to guests that I'm aware of, but I will go to Superintendent Owens just in case I missed something for this evening.
No guests for which I am aware, Chair.
All right, thank you. The approval of minutes. You have the minutes for February 11th, 2026 in your board book. Unless there's some concern, I could entertain a motion to approve with a second the draft minutes as presented. Don't speak all at once, guys.
Motion to approve the minutes.
I got, thank you. That was Director Harden and Director Newman. All those in favor of approving the minutes as presented indicate by saying aye and presenting.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. It looks like everybody approves of the minutes at this time. Public forum is not applicable during work sessions, which means that we're going to be going immediately to our reports. This report is handled by Director Southerton. And so, Director Southerton, I'm just handing it over to you to walk us through everything that we need.
Can't hear you, Paul.
Now try. Nope. We all shake our heads at the same time. We're very cute when we do this. It's like, would you like, Director Southerton, would you like to have Superintendent Owens introduce our guest from a representative from Polly Rogers, and maybe you could log off and log back in if that works for you? Okay, so Superintendent Owens, would you mind doing an introduction, and Director Southerton will just log back out and in. Probably will solve the problem, and then he can take it on from there. But you can do our introduction for us, please.
Happy to do so. We have our annual comprehensive audit report findings. We have our representative from Polly Rogers here this evening, David Williams. Excuse me, I believe we have, is it Brian Thompson?
Brian Thompson.
Here. And so we'll have Brian go ahead and open up the presentation for us. And then when Paul rejoins, he can help collaborate as well.
Thank you, James, and good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Thompson. I'm the audit team lead assigned to the district's findings of the financial reports. I don't have the actual slides with me, but I'm sure Paul will provide that to us once he logs back on. But while we're waiting for him to log back on, I will at least present my findings. And this is from the board letter that we provided, but so I'll go ahead and get started. So I'd like to start with the purpose of the audit. So this is through our sampling inquiries and analytical work that we go through Paul and his team. We make sure the financial report is in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles, as well as generally accepted auditing standards. We check to make sure it's with under help. There's the presentation. Yeah, so as I was saying, the GAP and GAS, that's audit standards. We also check with municipal audit law and the related rules with that. And then also federal, state, and other rules and regulations with regard to the schedule of expenditures and federal awards. And this kind of has to go with our single audit procedures. So that's what we check for during this process. And then going into the results I have here. I'm happy to report this was an unmodified opinion, which means it's the best clean opinion that we can provide. We didn't find any significant or material weaknesses during our audits. It follows a statement of standards. We didn't find any exceptions or issues that required comments. Management letter, we only send this out if we have if there were any material or significant findings, we would have to send this out, but fortunately we did not, so we did not have to send out the letter. And as far as federal awards go, we didn't have any issues with non-compliance or anything like that. You can move on to the next slide, Paul. Thank you. Going into the student body evaluation, we also did not find any material weaknesses or findings on that front, and we also found a couple of opportunities to improve. These are just kind of comments that we found during the process. A couple of examples that we found included reconciling bank statements in a more timely manner. We've noticed the schools provided financial statements on their own, separate from the district, and then the business office, Paul and his team, they help assist with that, which is definitely a good thing. It's been doing very well on that. Schools, they've been working on keeping better documentation, just better records on the school's end. And again, the business office, as we found, they've been doing a good job with that. And then, of course, just to keep up with training, making sure everybody knows what they're doing, especially with secretaries and principals of each school. So everything's going good there. And go ahead and move on to the next slide. Oh, that's the end of his slide. So that's pretty much it on his this kind of thing. And I've got a couple other items I'd like to address. This has to do with the statement number 101, the Government Accounting Standards Board statement number 101. That was the new standard that was issued this year. So for those who are not aware, this had to do with we've previously been reporting on accrued vacation. With this new standard, we now have to include accrued sick leave. So that's just something to be aware of with this one, and you'll find more details about that within the audit reports. And then lastly, I have a couple of future accounting issues that will be coming up for the upcoming fiscal year. And these are statements. The first one I have here is statement 103, which goes over financial reporting model improvements. It's something we'll adjust with Paul and his team. This more has to do with improvements to the management's discussion and analysis section of the audit reports. So there'll be some improvements that go in line with make sure that's presented in a more better way and making sure that's all good there. And then the second new standard that's coming up for next fiscal year is statement number 104, which has to do with better disclosure of capital assets. So again, we'll be discussing that more with Paul and his team, but there will be it basically just goes over more disclosure and some more details when it comes to capital assets. And that's everything that I have on my report, and I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have at this time.
The board directors, unless Director Southerton wanted to add anything before we go to the questions from board members? We're okay. So board members, during the virtual meetings, it's a little bit easier if we just kind of do a roll call. That way I know I'm not going to miss anybody. So Jess, did you have any questions for the auditors? Director Harden.
My question was about the new items that you were referring to. Are those mandated by the state? Where are those? What is the background on to why those are coming on board next year?
So the future accounting issues that I brought up with the GASB standards, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, that's basically the new standards that are issued every year. Kind of like we did last year with statement number 101 with the accrued compensated absences. It's just the new accounting standards is that we get usually every year we get a new one. So yeah.
If
Is
I
that-
may, it's not because you have concerns with our processes in those areas,
Correct. Yeah.
correct? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Director Lynn,
No questions, thank you.
Vice Chair Mooring,
No questions, thank you.
Director Newman,
No questions for me. Great question from Jess, but our Director Harden, but that's it.
thank you. Director Selesky,
No, not at this time, thank you.
Director Stanley.
No, well presented. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no additional questions either. Director Southerton, are you there yet?
You should be indeed seeing double of me. Sorry, I've joined with two devices here so I can get my audio working. Apologies. And thank you, Brian, for jumping in, and Superintendent Owens for filling the void and the gap. That is the joy of, virtual setting, even though I had multiple Zoom meetings today. So no, I just would like to thank Brian and his team at Polly Rogers. As always, they do a robust job going through the district financials with a fine-tooth comb, asking lots of good questions, testing, and making sure that we're following board policies, practice, and good standards, and being good stewards of public funds. So appreciate Brian and his team.
Thank you. All right.
I-
Director Selesky.
I did have a question and I lost it, but it came back to me. So the schools, you talked about the ASB school accounts. Do those, are those run through any sort of system? Do we have a service that we go through to track like the receipts and all of that? Or is it all kind of like by hand, a system we've created?
Yeah, it's
Out
a
of
great
curiosity.
question. We typically use QuickBooks or QuickIn, depending on the school. At the high school, they have a more robust and larger ASB system, and they use InTouch software, which is kind of the standard for student body activity funds at the high school level. You can imagine there are several hundreds different various clubs and athletic groups and whatnot. And so it's a much more robust system that they have at the high school system, but we are using accounting software at every school.
And I was just curious, Brian, if you had any recommendations in that area, as far as what we're doing across the board look good.
Other than what Paul had in his slides, I have no further recommendations at this time.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, everyone. So I believe we are done with this report, and we can move on with the agenda unless I see anybody who's saying no. Okay, thank you, Director Southerton. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for being here and walking us through something like this. It's when I saw the 179 pages, it always makes me choke a little. But I really appreciate the board note, which helps us tremendously understand what we're supposed to be doing in reviewing these materials.
Of course, it's our pleasure, and we hope to see you guys next year. And have a great evening.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be moving on to the superintendent report. So Superintendent Owens, it's up to you now.
All right, greetings, board directors. It is my pleasure and privilege to share with you this update about happenings in our school district. Today, Centennial High School convened the winter session of the structured 9th and 10th grade Data Summit series, continuing the district's data-informed continuous improvement efforts under Roadmap 27, with a focused emphasis on 9th and 10th grade language arts, math, attendance, and discipline. Consistent with the adjusted high school data team model, teacher teams and administrators engaged in a full-day session centered on reviewing the school improvement plan, instructional action steps, and analyzing disaggregated student data related to grades, attendance, and discipline. The agenda included an equity grounding, professional learning related to the impact of educator beliefs, and proficiency-based practices, an extended collaborative data analysis using the shared data and action planning protocol. Teams examined indicators of student progress, assessed the impact of current instructional practices, and identified responsive instructional and support adjustments aligned to core content areas and on-track progress in the first 2 years of high school. This winter session is the second of 3 planned data summits designed to support ongoing monitoring of student performance, to strengthen assessment and data literacy, and sustain a consistent data and feedback-rich instructional culture at Centennial High School. The series will continue with the spring session on April 22nd, allowing teams to revisit data trends, evaluate the impact of implemented strategies, and refine instructional approaches to support improved credit attainment and on-time graduation. The pictures that you see on the screen here are from the last session last month, not updated for today, unfortunately. Last Wednesday, the district convened the third of 5 Profile of a Centennial Graduate Pilot Leader work sessions in the CHS Community Room, continuing the year-long series, bringing together teacher leaders and administrators from all schools to advance pilot actions aligned to the profile of the graduate learning progressions. This particular session focused on developing authentic, real-world, inquiry-based learning to increase relevance, rigor, and student engagement while maintaining the ongoing emphasis on the academically prepared competency. Participants collaboratively planned pilot instruction with a focus on aligning to critical standards and the profile of graduate proficiencies. The agenda also included structured time to begin planning for the Spring Student Summit, where students will publicly demonstrate their learning and growth through pilot-aligned projects. As with prior sessions in this series, the work centered on cross-district calibration and shared instructional planning, supporting coherence across schools as pilot leaders continue to collect evidence of student learning, reflect on instructional shifts, and prepare for future scaling of profile of a graduate practices. The remaining work sessions are scheduled for March 11th and April 29th, with a culminating student summit, as I mentioned, planned for Tuesday, May 19th from 12 to 2 p.m. A calendar invitation with more information will be shared with the board sometime in the near future. As part of the district's ongoing instructional coherence efforts, elementary teams have continued the district-wide standards mapping process, first introduced earlier this school year to strengthen alignment in English language arts and integrated literacy instruction. This week and next week, grade level teams from across the district will reconvene in coordinated sessions, working in mixed school groups to review and refine existing standards maps, pacing guides, and scope and sequence to ensure consistent alignment to state standards and school improvement priorities. This phase of the work focuses on deepening shared understanding of critical and focal standards, clarifying learning targets, academic vocabulary, language supports, and common formative assessment practices within the mapping framework. Teams will also revisit trimester pacing decisions and examine how adopted curriculum materials and cross-content units, including science and social studies, can intentionally be leveraged to support mastery of priority standards while maintaining appropriate instructional time for foundational literacy skills. Teams have also begun transitioning toward the next stage of the process, which is developing a common understanding of proficiency and planning for standards-aligned summative assessments. The resulting standards maps and pacing guides will continue to anchor PLC collaboration, instructional planning, and consistent access to grade level content across all 6 elementary schools, supporting equitable instructional coherence and ongoing alignment with Roadmap 27's focus on high quality, standards-based teaching and learning. Continuing the district's long-range facilities planning process, the Facilities Advisory Committee has now been formed following the application process referenced in the January board meeting. Selected committee members were notified on February 20th, and the district has initiated onboarding and logistics in preparation for the committee's work this spring. The Facilities Advisory Committee roster includes a broad cross-section of stakeholders, including parents or caregivers from each school, students, staff, union representatives, administrators, community partners, city representation, and board participation, including Vice Chair Mooring and Director Newman, along with facilitation support from DLR Group and district leadership. The structure is intended to ensure that long-range facilities discussions are informed by diverse perspectives and aligned to the future educational programming, enrollment trends, and equity considerations. The first Facilities Advisory Committee meeting is scheduled for next week on March 5th at Park Lane Elementary, and that will include a facility tour and an orientation to the planning process, with subsequent meetings scheduled through April and May, and additional sessions anticipated in fall of 2026. Meeting logistics have been designed to support accessibility, including evening meeting times, the availability of childcare upon request, and opportunities for language interpretation and translation services. Consistent with the board's prior direction, the committee's role is advisory in nature and will focus on providing community-informed feedback related to facilities conditions, long-term capital needs, sustainability, and alignment with the district's instructional vision and Roadmap 27 priorities. The input gathered through this process will support the development of a long-range facilities recommendation for the board for future board consideration. The 2026 legislative short session is now at approximately the midpoint, with ongoing discussions related to education policy and budget considerations that may impact K-12 funding and programmatic requirements. District leadership continues to monitor legislative developments and budget signals, including forthcoming updates from the Ways and Means Committee that will provide greater clarity regarding potential reductions and statewide funding priorities. At the local level, engagement has included continued coordination with regional education partners and Multnomah County leadership in particular regarding the fiscal year 2027 county budget development process. On February 10th, I met alongside Multnomah County superintendents with County Chair Jessica Vega Peterson and staff. And on February 18th, I met with Commissioner Vince Jones Dixon, you see them both pictured on the screen, to discuss budget priorities and to advocate for the preservation of Sun Community Schools and school-based mental health services. Both of those have been talked about as potential reduction areas. These programs provide critical wraparound supports, including mental health access, family engagement, and extended learning opportunities that directly support student attendance, engagement, and well-being. Additionally, East County superintendents jointly submitted correspondence to county leadership emphasizing the importance of sustaining school-based mental health services, Sun schools, and family resource navigators as foundational supports. As the county budget process continues through the spring, the district will remain engaged in regional advocacy efforts and partnership discussions to help advocate for services supporting students and families in East County and making sure they're preserved to the greatest extent possible. The district will host its classified appreciation event on Tuesday, March 3rd from 4 to 6 p.m. at Powell Butte Elementary School. This annual event is intended to recognize and celebrate the contributions of our classified staff who serve in essential roles across the district in support of students, families, and daily school operations. The gathering will include opportunities for staff connection and appreciation, including Hawaii local food, student performances, and other activities. Classified staff support every aspect of our system, from student services to transportation to nutrition services, facilities, front office operations, and their collective efforts play a critical role in maintaining safe, welcoming, and effective learning environments across our schools. So we're grateful to have the opportunity to celebrate them. And I invite our board directors to join us. And I believe Missy has sent out a calendar invitation recently, and I look forward to potentially seeing some of you there. On the screen, you'll see some pictures from last year's event. Finally, the District and Centennial Education Association are scheduled to participate in mediation sessions over the next couple of days as part of the ongoing collective bargaining process. The district continues to engage in good faith mediation towards reaching a sustainable agreement that balances student needs, staff working conditions, and the district's fiscal responsibilities. In alignment with the district's commitment to transparency, the licensed bargaining webpage was updated this week to include a general mediation summary and clarifying information related to class size data and proposal structures. And you see a screen capture of the website there. And with that, I invite any questions or comments you might have, and that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Superintendent Owens. And let's again go around the room, starting this time with Director Lynn.
No questions, thank you.
Vice Chair Morin,
No questions. Looking forward to the facilities committee kicking off next week.
Director Newman.
Hopefully just one quick question. I know the picture for the data summits, it was an older picture, but there are I know some students in the pictures. Are students involved in the 9th and 10th grade data summit? And if so, how?
Good question. Thanks for asking that. So the original session that you saw included students, and they spoke to their experience in the classroom. Dr. Katsuda can deepen that a little bit more. I don't believe that they were a participant to this data summit, but Dr. Katsuda, what can you add?
Yeah, the first data summit, students were on a panel. They were invited to be a part of a panel to speak to their learning experiences in the school and their time at CHS. So further data summits, we don't have them scheduled. It doesn't mean they won't be invited in some respect, but right now we don't have them scheduled for that. The data summits are pretty packed in terms of the work and all of that. And yeah.
Thanks. So yeah, I always think it's great for students to be able to engage in that level of to get some exposure to how decisions get made. So yeah, thank you.
Director Solowski.
No questions, thank you.
Director Stanley.
No questions. Just thank you, Missy, for always sending the invitations. Appreciate it.
Chair Shields has no questions, so I think Superintendent Owens, you have concluded your report. Anything else that you would like to add before we move on?
No, thank you.
All right. Board members, looking at your agenda, we are at the stage of confirmation items. And if I could, unless someone wants to pull something, may I have a motion to approve confirmation items as listed in the agenda or board book?
Motion to approve confirmation items.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded by Director Solowski and Director Stanley to approve the confirmation items as listed. All those in favor indicate by raising your hand and saying aye.
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 And all directors reporting. Thank you so much, board directors. We are moving on to board action items, and our first thing would be visiting old business on refunding bonds, Series 2026. And Director Southerton, this is where you come in with us again, please.
All right, if I can get an audio check, that'd be great. I am still using 2 devices here. Perfect, I see thumbs up. Thanks so much. And I see David Williams joining us with Piper Sanders. So thank you. Welcome, David. I will display The board note here is a little bit meaty, and it's obviously a very important subject. So I just want to make sure everybody has opportunity to fully understand what's before the board for consideration this evening. So the administration is recommending approval of the issuance and sale of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2026, to advance refund a portion of the district's outstanding general obligation and refunding bond Series 2020. The resolution in Board Book authorizes the issuance of general obligation refunding bond Series 2026 in a maximum amount of $5 million to advance refund a portion of the district's outstanding 2020 voter-approved bonds. The primary objective is to support stable and predictable debt service and tax levy rates during the interim period within the district's long-range facilities planning framework. This is not new money borrowing and is allowable under the provisions or the previous 2020 voter-approved ballot. It is in relation to the long-range capital planning context. It's been the district's long-range capital planning approach to maintain a stable bond levy as prior debt amortizes and future capital needs are addressed through subsequent voter-approved measures. This transaction does not represent a change in the district's overall debt management or capital planning approach. The district is currently engaged in ongoing facilities planning, including refinement of the facility's needs, updated enrollment, cost data review, and continued community engagement. The timing of any future capital bond measures will be determined through established board governance and long-range facility planning process. The levy step down that would otherwise occur in the interim would reflect scheduled debt service amortization rather than a change in the district's long-term management strategy. What this transaction does, should it be approved by the board, is as follows. The district will issue taxable refunding bonds. Proceeds will be used to advance refund select 2020 bonds until their 2030 call date. A call date is when we can pay off the bonds after they were originally issued. Debt service will be restructured to promote stable and predictable debt service and levy rates during the interim period. The levy is intended to remain more stable rather than temporarily declining and then increasing later with a future bond ballot measure, successful bond ballot measure. The transaction is structured to be economically neutral with an estimated net present value of plus or minus 1%. Aggregate debt service is not expected to materially increase as a result of this restructuring, and final maturity will not extend beyond the original voter-approved repayment schedule. The transaction does not extend final maturity beyond the voter-approved limit, as previously stated, and it does not create additional new money debt authorization. It adjusts the timing and the structure of the debt service payments within the existing voter authorization. The administration will proceed only if market conditions support the anticipated economic outcome as described above at the time of pricing, and the administration retains full discretion not to execute the refunding if conditions are unfavorable to the district. The administration recommends the Board of Directors approves the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation refunding bond series 2026 to advance refund a portion of the district's outstanding general obligation and refunding bond series 2020 and designate authorized representatives, designating service providers and related matters as presented in the accompanying resolution. I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, Director Southerton. And Director Harden, I need to apologize. I did not come back to you when we were doing the superintendent report. So if you have questions for the superintendent report, let me know. But can I start with you for questions for either the superintendent report or about the refunding bonds report?
Yeah, no questions on either front. Thank you.
All right. Director Lynn?
No questions. Thank you.
Vice Chair Moring?
No additional questions. Thank you.
Director Newman?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Selesky?
No questions, thank you.
Director Stanley?
No, not this time. Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no additional questions, board members, I would ask you to review. In fact, Director Southerton, could you put the last page of your presentation where the board approval is listed? And because what I'm going to do, board members, is ask for a motion to approve the request as presented in this board note. That way, our executive assistant, Ms. Grindle, can go ahead and put it in its entirety, in the context of this board note, in our minutes. So after reviewing this, you have a motion to approve the bond refunding request as presented.
So moved.
Been moved by Director Solosky,
Seconded.
and it's been seconded by Director Newman. So all those in favor of the approval of the refunding bonds as presented indicate by showing of hands and saying aye.
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 Thank you so much, directors. Then that has been approved. Moving on, 7.1.2, the second read of policies IIA, I think, instead of LLO. It always looks so strange when you look at it that way. I apologize. Director Olson, before you begin, there's a list. We've gone through them once before. There were some changes that were recommended in the previous first read that are now reflected in the second read. My question to you is, when we ask for motion to approve, assuming that's what the board wants to do we need, or will I need to ask for approval on every single item? Or does your board note reflect what we need to approve?
I believe you would just following the adoption of the policy IIA.
Mm-hmm. And then
I'm not certain I understand your question.
Right, and so all the ARs, did I have to ask for a motion for every single AR?
I don't believe so. No, they're inclusive.
Okay, and executive assistant Ms. Grindle, is that true? Sometimes we get a little confused on these policies versus ARs, et cetera. And I just want to double check before we take the board down the list.
Sure. So you can take action on the policy itself and just say associated ARs as indicated, and then it'll clump it all together.
So we will be reviewing, I assume, the board note with you, Director Olson, and that will help us with that process as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me share. All right. So good evening. As a reminder, we are coming back the second time on policy IIA, instructional materials, and the 6 associated ARs. The proposed policy revisions and additions are specific to the bullets that you see here, that we're explicitly stating that instructional materials should be inclusive of populations represented in a global society. And we're ensuring that the material selection process reflects respect for all people, regardless of race, color, creed, national origin, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. A clarification that materials under reconsideration remain available during the reconsideration process and will not be removed. More explicit definition between core instructional materials, supplemental instructional materials, school library, and classroom library materials. And then a statement clarifying that the policy does not cover classroom activities that are not related to the materials. Those are the primary additions that are proposed. Additionally, there were new revisions in August to some ORSs around language about non-discrimination practice that are now reflected in these in this policy and the associated ARs. So approval of this policy, including the process for selection and reconsideration of the materials, is highly recommended. There was some conversation at the first read, primarily around the definition of the community member on the reconsideration committee. So we did go ahead and add the phrase within the boundaries of the school district. So a community member within the boundaries of the school district to further define that. And that is in keeping with the definition of a community member that could request a reconsideration, so that it would be parallel language. We determined that we still wanted a student member to be listed as an optional member of the committee. However, we would intend to include a student when at all possible and appropriate. So it is recommended that the Board of Directors consider adopting the newer version of policy IIA presented herein to replace the current policy and ARs. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Director Olson. Let's go through our list, starting with Director Stanley. Any questions about the policy or revisions?
No, I appreciate the clarification.
Director Solowski?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Newman?
No questions. Thank you.
Vice Chair Mooring?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Director Lynn?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Harden?
No questions. And I'll make a motion to approve policy IIA as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve IIA policy as presented, and that would include the associated ARs. Thank you.
Correct.
All those in favor of the motion indicate by raising your hand and saying aye.
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 Good. All directors reporting. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, Director Olson, you got through that. Woohoo.
I know. Great. Thank you so much.
Well, we spent a great deal of time with you on the other, which really appreciate. Directors are very engaged in that one. So that was a meaty policy to work with. So, Director Southerton, you are on the second read here of policy JFG. And the AR, this is hopefully we will be able to adopt. So your presentation, please.
Perfect. And one more time, if I can get a test on audio. Thank you so much. And let me just display the policies here. So we are back with just the update as directed by the board to update the section here in front of you, which is 4F. All other previous changes shared and are approved remain the same. There are no other additional changes. So the board directed more inclusive language around 4F so that students would be allowed to choose the gender of the district staff member who conducts the search rather than defaulting to the gender identity of the student. And so we did, as directed, put a little bit of parameters on there. Just you'll notice after the comma, it's provided a trained staff member of the requested gender is present on campus of the school where the search is taking place. If a trained staff member of the requested gender is not available on campus of the school where the search is taking place, a trained staff member of another gender may conduct the search.
Thank you. Directors, let's start with you, Director Harden. Any questions about this revision or the policy in general?
No questions.
Thank you. Director Lynn?
No questions. Thank
Vice Chair Mooring?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Newman?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Solowski?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Stanley?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Hearing no additional questions, Then we need a motion to adopt the revised policy JFG-AR. Do I have a motion to approve?
I
Motion.
move that we adopt policy, the updated policy JFG-AR.
Thank you, Director Newman and Director Selesky has seconded that, as we will do. All those in favor of adopting these changes to the policy indicate by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, directors. You guys are great. All right, we are now at 7.14, and it's our policy committee report. And one of the things that we have in your, excuse me, in your board note is the list of the policy, superintendent policy committees. And we'll just kind of go down through the list here if I can get my view to be so I can read it. There we go. Policy BHD, board member compensation expense reimbursement, facilitator David Lynn, members Michael Newen and Will Mooring. Do you have anything to report or dates of meetings or anything going on?
No, not at this time.
All right, thank you. Policy BK, evaluation of board operational procedures, facilitator Melissa Stanley, members Michael Newman and Will Mooring.
No,
Director-
bless the guy's heart. They know I need to schedule it with them, and they're so very patient. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Policy policy DBEA, Budget Committee, facilitator Rose Selesky, members Jess Harden and Pam Shields.
We need to get something on the calendar. I will take the lead for setting that up, but nothing has been done yet.
All right, thank you. And policy IICA, field trips and excursion, facilitator Pam Shields, member Melissa Stanley, and Principal Mayor. We are going to report that we have a meeting scheduled. We're the first on the team. Now, this means that we've been having this particular policy for 2 years, trying to get this one reviewed. So good job, team. We will have our first meeting next Thursday on the Director Mooring.
Thank you. I think we previously had some anticipated timelines for getting these committees rolling, and so did we want to revisit that briefly while we're on that topic? I believe that the one that Director Slawski is leading for the budget committee nominations, which we will have 4 seats expiring this June, is probably the one that has a more urgent focus but maybe if we could set a loose or revisit the timeline we had initially discussed on when we could be ready to tackle all of the questions before the committees.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we may not even need to schedule a meeting for, like the changes. I think we can probably start to do things over email. So by the end of this week, I will send out an email to directors Harden and Shields with just kind of like an outline of what we were thinking for updates.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Yes, I do believe when we initially set it up and we were thinking that we were going to have a late March by our April reports for sure, because some of these things we want to have action and put into place because things get crazy in May and June. So appreciate the reminder, Vice Chair Maureen. We'll get that done.
Sure. Yeah. No, and that's why I thought I'd just bring it up really quickly because I know we do have to run some of that review by various legal and whatnot to make sure because we'd be updating policies that we have time to work through those and get them into place.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other
thank you.
questions about these superintendent policy review committees and moving forward? Any questions from Superintendent Owens? No, just get her done. Okay, thank you. So we're under new business now, 7.2, the first read of policy, and I always have problems with this, JECA, admission of residence students. And Director Olson, you are up on deck again.
I'm up again and I'm bringing forth a relatively simple one this time. Well, hopefully simple. In May, the board adopted revised policies in IKF graduation requirements and IKFB graduation exercises to align with Senate Bill 992, replacing the language alternative certificate with certificate of attendance. In addition to that, there were some additional credit requirements you may remember that were added to those IKF and IKFB policies at the time when you adopted them. So during this process, it was also recommended that we review and revise policy JECA, admission of resident students, to reflect replacement of the term alternative certificate with certificate of attendance. I can't hear you.
And any recommendations at this time, Director Olson, for this?
Yes, I would recommend that the Board of Directors adopt the revised policy JECA.
Board of Directors, it is a first read. We do have an opportunity, unless Executive Assistant Grindle tells me otherwise. Our policy, our process has been that if it is clear that we can go ahead and approve it on the first read. But before we do that, let's open up questions. So let's start with
Chair Shields, if I may. Typically with a first read, since it's a work session, we're not allowing any public
That's what it
forum
was.
for this. So if there isn't any changes, then typically we can go ahead and add it to confirmation at the March meeting, and then it can be approved if there's no changes. But we do want to have an opportunity for some public comment.
Got it. Appreciate the.
Sorry.
No, that's the thing I need reminders of. It's like, which medium am I in? What can we do in these and that? So in a work session, first read, if we get our questions answered and we feel comfortable, you may see this board directors in confirmation items during the regular board meeting, our next regular board meeting. So this is a good time though to make sure that you get your questions asked and answered. Doesn't mean that you cannot talk about it again in our next meeting, but it would be prudent if we get our questions answered tonight. So Director Stanley, questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Director Stolowski. You're good. Director Newman.
I have no questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Chair Mooring.
No questions. Thank you.
Director Lynn.
Questions? Thank you.
Director Hardin.
No questions.
Okay, you might expect this to be in the confirmation items in our next meeting. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty. Future agenda items. This would be Superintendent Owens. Yeah, and others possibly.
Of course, I was getting cute with my Zoom, and now I've lost my ability to be displayed on the screen. So at least I have my audio, I guess.
Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah, future agenda items. We have the Powell Butte Elementary report in our 1 March meeting in person. Music in Schools Month proclamation and license contract renewals and non-renewals. So that's what's on the docket.
Thank you. Board directors, you can unmute yourself if there's something under future agenda items that you would like to bring up or remind us of. All right, then, as you know, we do have an executive session scheduled after this. A separate Zoom link has been sent to your email. It's also part of Board Book as well. It is now 7:25. Let's get back together at 7:35, giving ourselves a 10-minute break. So I call this meeting in adjournment. Adjourned. See you in 10.
And that's a different link, correct? So we can
Different
just
link.
log out of this meeting.
Log out and
Yep.
come back